Yo, what's up? It's your girl Chaz. Welcome to another Chaz Chat video. So this is so cute. Would y'all be mad at me if I left this hood on the whole video? Okay, whatever. I'm gonna take it off. That's fine. Okay, whatever. This video is all about listening to God's voice, how to hear God's voice, how do you know that it's God's voice, and what do you do when you hear it? If I had to sum this video up in one sentence, my main point would just be, don't be afraid to miss it. Like, for example, sometimes when you feel on your spirit to reach out to someone, sometimes it comes off as like an inner thought. You'll hear people say, listen with your heart. You'll hear people say, hearing from God. And sometimes it's not hearing as in audibly or with your ears. Sometimes it's just a knowing. And sometimes what stops you is you don't want to seem foolish if you're wrong. But don't be afraid to miss it. The more you listen, the stronger your confidence in his voice will become. We'll say things like, is that me or is that God? Or is that the enemy trying to trick me into thinking that it's God? One part is John 10:27. My sheep hear my voice and I know them and they follow me. Verse 5 of the same chapter says, and a stranger's voice they will not follow. Well, to know his voice, you have to know him. That comes from reading your word and spending time with him. Just like with any relationship, you can't never spend time with a person and expect to know them. Likewise, the more time you spend with the person, the more you get to know them. Another part is you have to think. If you ask God a question, it's probably because you didn't know the answer to it. So when you ask, and then all of a sudden you're filled with a knowing, you have to trust that it can't be you. Because you didn't know that 5 minutes ago. That's why you asked. I've done that, and I had to tell myself, I am not that smart. It helps when you're writing too. Like for me, sometimes I have questions, and I'll write it in what I call my Jesus journal. Shout out to feedher.co. I'm gonna do a little plug in my description. I'm gonna show you my Jesus journals. But so I have a question, I'll write it in my Jesus journal, and then literally the next line will be the answer. Well, sometimes it's not that I'm hearing something with my ears all the time. Sometimes it's just I'm just filled with a knowing, so I'll write that down. And then I'll go back and read it and just be like, well, that was too much revelation for me to even conceive that could have been me. I think of Baca, if you know him, or Pastor Baca, sorry. I think of him and his Matrix example. I haven't seen the movie, so I hope I don't butcher this too bad, but he's like, basically, they'll be like, in the Matrix, and they're like, do you know how to do it? And then they're like, give me a second. I do now. And it's like they're just filled with the knowing of how to do it. That's kind of what it's like. Now, when it comes to the question of, well, what if it's the enemy trying to trick me into thinking that it's God? Well, that stems back to knowing your word, because he knows it too. That makes me think of the story in the Bible where the devil tried to tempt Jesus. It's like Matthew chapter 4, I think like verses 1 through 11. And so the devil was trying to take the word and kind of twist it. And Jesus was like, no, because it is written, dummy. Well, he didn't call him a dummy, but he didn't call him a dummy. That was my interpretation. But he was like, no, for it is written. God, the devil was trying to twist things up. But you have to be solid in your foundation. So if the word is ever attempted to be flipped, you will know immediately because it does not line up with the word of God. It should be easy to determine if it's a trick of the enemy, because he'll say things or suggest things that maybe has a sprinkle of truth, but ultimately it doesn't line up with the character of who your daddy is. That's why you gotta know him, and you gotta know him for yourself. Your relationship with him can't be based off of someone else's relationship with him. That is a slippery foundation. For example, I think of Adam and Eve. The instruction to not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil was given to Adam. Adam walked the garden with God. Adam spent real time in the physical, like flesh to flesh with God. The serpent could not lie to Adam about the character of God because Adam knew God. Eve knew of God. That's major. The whole separation of mankind from God came from someone who fell into a trap due to only knowing about God and not truly knowing God for themselves. That's a lot to unpack, and I'm going to in another video. It's trying to overflow out of me now, but I'm gonna stay on topic. The point is, you have to know him for yourself to truly discern his voice. You don't want your relationship with God to be based off of someone else's relationship with God. Heck, they might not even know him for real. So you're getting telephone games, second, third, fourth, and fifth hand information about a God you claim to serve. Spend time with him. And not just listening to sermons. They're great, but spend time with him. Get to know him for yourself. Allow him to provide revelation knowledge to you as you dive into his word. This just kind of came to me to say, a place to start when you're reading, there's different ways, but a suggestion, if if you're looking for one. Find a question that you have. I had a moment in which I actually had some, okay, I'll say it. I actually had some fears about dying, honestly, and about going to heaven, and just a whole thing. We can get into that in another video. I don't want to derail too much, but I just kind of I guess I had some questions about it, like, oh, you know what I mean? And my thought was, I'm young, I want to live life, woo. And God just started instructing me to learn about heaven, and he started pointing me to different scriptures about heaven and different things like that. But anywho, if you have a question, maybe start there. You can even Google what does scripture say about such and such, and then start with those verses. That was for somebody, because that just kind of came to me off the random. But yeah, back to spending time with him. And when you feel those unctions and promptings, when you begin to know things that you know you didn't know, and when people begin to be laid on your heart and you feel led to say something to them, etc., there's all types of examples. Trust it. Don't be afraid to miss it. You can't look crazy if you are in line with God's character. Don't be afraid to get it wrong. You're probably not getting it wrong. You probably just feel like that because it's new. But trust those unctions. Trust what you hear in your heart. Follow those knowings and be obedient. Even if it starts off with a small step that you don't fully understand, just start to walk in that. He will guide you. The more you listen and follow, the more you will hear, and the more confident you will be in discerning his voice. And you can start with the small things. Literally, I'd be like, Lord, where are my glasses? And then suddenly I'll hear something like, there's a drawer downstairs. And when I say hear, it's in my heart, it's a knowing. I don't always hear from God audibly. I have like a couple times. It's actually a lot more common for me to hear than it is for me to hear here. What I'm saying is it's a lot more common for me to be filled with a knowing, or what we might call a thought. And that's why sometimes we're like, did I just think that? Oh, I thought of it. It's a knowing more than it is an auditory response. But anywho, I'll go get the glasses, and that's exactly where they are. Sometimes because we hear the phrase, hear God's voice, we miss when he's talking because we're looking for a loud booming voice or something audible. And that happens sometimes for some people, but sometimes it's just in the knowing. And don't chump him off. Some of y'all heard that glasses example and was like, nah bro, you just remember where they were. Well, I asked because I didn't know. And then I did. To you, that's a coincidence, but because of my relationship with him and because of the frequency of how often these things happen, I know it to be God. It's really a slap in the face to ask God a question and then when he answers, have the arrogance to give yourself the credit. God cares about every aspect of me, all the way down to the socks I put on my feet. It doesn't have to be a super spiritual question. Begin to include him on your day-to-day. Shoot, moment to moment. God, what should I wear today when you're picking out your clothes? God, how should I respond to my friend who sent that text? And it's okay if you don't feel like you're getting a response. He's always talking. Sometimes you have to sharpen your ear to hear. It's like flexing a muscle. How do you flex that muscle? You spend time with him. He speaks to different people in different ways. He created you. He knows how to get your attention. Be intentional about hearing from God and spending time in his presence. Practice, even when it's so low you barely think you heard it. Keep listening. Keep seeking. Keep trusting even when it seems unfamiliar, because it probably will at first. He doesn't just stay tucked away and only want to help with the big stuff. Involve him. That's why he lives in you. He doesn't just rent a room on holidays and special occasions. Make him a part of your everyday. Yeah. Well, I hope you got something out of that. And if you did, give me a thumbs up, you feel me? Leave a comment, let me know what you think. Share with your friends. Like, honestly, if any of this blesses you, do not be gluttonous with the word. Share with your friends so they can be blessed too. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Comment, let me know something you took away. Or tell me your own stories about the first time you started hearing God. Let me know in the commentaries. Thank you, I appreciate you. I love you. Oh, and if you have any prayer requests, I know this is random, but if you have prayer requests, hit me up. You can comment, you can message me. I'm on IG at ChazChat2X. I'm on like everything at ChazChat2X. I'm here for you. We a family, we a community, man. So, you know what I'm saying? You can always hit me up if you need anything. Thank you for watching. I appreciate y'all. Have a great day. Bye.